your overall, memory of the race? Now some time has passed, and you can kind of look back at it. And what's your overall image of the race now that you're a little bit past it?
Just what an amazing day it was to be out there, be out there and tread water with everybody. It was a really neat experience, swimming in the ocean with the crystal clear water. I saw turtles, and it was just really amazing. The bike was, still looking back, the bike was difficult for me. I struggled for those last 30 miles into the headwinds. I really struggled out there, but I would absolutely go back and do it again. That was a little mentally defeating as well. I felt like for every one person I passed, there were 10 people that passed me. You're in Kona, you're at the World Championship. These people are for real. And so the whole weekend, everybody talks about, you go into Kona and you feel like you're not worthy and everybody's so fit. So I never had that feeling. The whole time I was there, I was like, yeah, I belong here. Until that last section of that bike, it was like, oh my gosh, everybody's passing me. No, everybody wasn't passing me, because you could still see people going the other direction, right? But it was, it's mentally tough. But that's the way it's supposed to be. It's the World Championship. It's certainly not supposed to be easy. I ran, I told myself, no walking until Palani. And my first 9.5 miles, I ran it all, and I felt great. I had some pretty decent splits, so I was pleased with that. And I did walk Palani. That's a hill. If you, Amy, today could go back and talk to Amy before the race and give yourself some advice, some reassurances, some tips, what would they be for you? I would go in with the same attitude and tell myself, to stick with your plan, to go out and enjoy the day. Understand that the bike could be long. And I did go into it with the attitude knowing that, it could be windy, it's going to be hot, it's going to be humid. Control what you can control, So I think I did a good job of sticking with my plan, keeping hydrated, drinking, trying to keep myself as cool as possible. I did all those things.
Did you ice down the pants?
I did ice down the pants. Kenny saw it. Kenny was there for one of them. But I did, at every aid station, and I do think it helped. I noticed the humidity, but the heat didn't bother me the way I thought it might.
So speaking of the heat, here we are on this wonderfully cool, almost November day. It's kind of misting, raining, and we have jackets on. And it's hard to describe just how hot it is there, day in and day out. What were your thoughts on that?
I have been to Hawaii in November, and I knew that it was hot, but I don't recall it being that hot. You walk out of your condo and you're instantly sweating. You're walking down the street and the sweat is instantly pouring down. So those first couple days being there, it was like, oh my gosh, and I'm gonna race in this? And it was that hot that day. Yeah.
What did you think of all the other athletes, Kona Week, and just all of the different people who come in from around the world, right, and have different approaches? Like some people were, you did see them hitting it really hard, just a couple of days before the race. You saw interesting clothing, you saw interesting eating choices. What's anything strike you?
So what did strike me was everybody who's out running and out on the bike, out on the Queen K and down on Ali'i. Look, everybody was working out. What you need to look at is if they're wearing a wristband or not, because some of those people were out there just, pounding out those runs. Well, they weren't people who were racing. For the most part, they weren't people who were racing. But I was surprised at some of the people who had wristbands on who were out running at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. It's the heat of the day. I don't think you need to do that, but everybody's body's different. I know that I'm not going to gain any fitness the last week before, so might as well rest.
Did you learn during the race that Rinny had trouble at any point, or did you not know until after the race?
I did not know until after the race. So I will admit I was very much in my own little race bubble world. I didn't know anything that was going on outside of what I was doing for kind of the whole weekend. Felt a little selfish like that, but
Why, and we're going to ask Renee this too, but why do you think that pros drop out more than, age groupers, you have some problem or a bad day or whatever, you tend to just keep going, even if it's not a good idea. And the pros seem more willing to, pull the plug and call it a day. Why do you think that is?
So we had, an age grouper typically, has a job and has family and has all of these other things going on in their life. And, we typically only do one Ironman a year. So you set out to do that Ironman. And I don't know, as an age grouper, and I have gone into a race, not 100% and injured, but I've said I'm going to do whatever I need to do to finish that race. I'm going to cross the line. To the point of, my race last year, I said if I have to walk the whole marathon, I will walk it. Thankfully I didn't have to, that'd be terrible. So I think we all kind of go into it with that mindset of, we've trained for this is our big event for the year, we're going to get through it no matter what. And we're also not necessarily thinking about the consequences of, oh my gosh, what if I end up tearing my Achilles? Because that's not how I make my living, right? Like, I don't have to rely on that. I've got a full-time job. Whereas with a professional athlete, that's, your body is how you're making your living. So if you're going to go out there and make something worse and possibly not be able to race for the next year to 18 months, I can see why you've got to drop out.
So, yeah, you guys are just...
So, Amy, how was your 5 days on the island?
Yeah, 5 days was not enough time.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed the race. I've already talked to these guys about, I had a really rough bike.
Yeah.
It was a rough bike for me. And I had some dark moments.
Yeah.
But I came off and I was really pleased with my run.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you fought through the tough times.
Exactly.
And was rewarded at the end for a good run. Yeah. I mean, I would never tell anyone to... I think I sort of pushed you on going in a little earlier, but when you only have a certain amount of time to take off from work, you got to work with what you have, and it is what it is. It sounds like you still were able to finish the race. You still were able to have a good run and enjoy the experience. But now for next time.
Exactly. I needed a few more days so that I wasn't, I felt really rushed. I felt like there was so much that had to be done in a short amount of time.
Yeah.
You got to get your race package. You got to check your bike in. You got to pack all your bags.
Yeah.
All of that. Make sure you're resting.
Yeah.
And, acclimating to the heat a little bit.
Yeah.
Coming in on Monday probably would have been perfect.
Absolutely.
So.
Yeah, I think you nailed it right in the head. In those last few days, you want to be relaxed. And coming in on Wednesday really just, you're taking in so much as a brand new place. So there's a lot to think about and just getting around the logistics of getting around the island on Thursday or Friday before the race is crazy.
There's so many people.
So much energy, which is great, but you kind of want to, at that point, withdraw and try and rest up. Things didn't go right. I should have known. New Balance accidentally sent me Kona 2016 kicks. So every year they make me personalized kicks, and they gave me Kona 2016 instead of 2015.
They sent you those?
They gave them to me the race week, a few days before the race.
Did they realize that they had the wrong year on it?
No. And then I looked at it, I'm like, guys. But they're constantly working in next season, next season colors, next season this and that. But still, I'm like, it's a weird.
That's interesting.
So I should have just packed up my bags and gone home. Anyway, yeah.
But to have been there to see Tim finish.
Exactly.
Had to have been amazing.
Yeah, well, and that's not something that
because
I've had the opportunity to do. In another Ironman, yes, I've been there, but never in Kona. And my first 2 years in Kona, he wasn't racing, so he was there before the race, during the race, at the finish line, and actually always is, except for last year when he had a real rough day. He's always there because he finishes obviously before me, and so he's always there for me at the finish line. So to be able to, you know, be there and support him out in the course and be able to cheer for him, maybe it just wasn't my year. It was his year. So people were just yelling at him, "You got to do it for Rinny." And then he's like, "Whoa!" And then he's like, "Oh no." So he found out pretty much as soon as he started running that something, he didn't know what had happened, if I was still racing, if I was not racing, or but that's kind of how we found out. And then I saw him. I was able to, because we had to wait for all the pro men to come in before I could get out of the car and get changed. So I didn't see him until he had come back on Lee Drive and he was heading up Polani.
Okay.
So yeah, I was able to kind of bunny hop and support him from there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, appreciate it. It's nice to, you know, have access to a local media outlet, because I mean I don't really know anyone.